Who you want us to do it, or you want me to do it?
I don't care.
Are we picking dinner, and are you my wife?
I'll do it. So, is there a
You
point to your
trying to
story?
fact check me? I don't know. I don't know
I
what
was
we're
looking up to
talking
see.
about.
You said I'm going to lose you on this Full Metal Jacket.
Oh,
There-
yeah.
It's not. So that's an old. That's like a reiteration of an old McDonald's toy.
Wow,
I
that's like
remember that
bringing
from my
back
childhood.
blackface.
That's
She has her own fucking Pokemon card and everything.
Let's start giving loud everybody for Anthony
got to cap them all.
Eugenio. Put up your next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne. We have a very special one for you. Long awaited for us. I know we've both been waiting for a new Chappelle special for a very long time, and it's finally here, and we are here to talk about it. But before we go too far into that, let me introduce my co-host, Anthony Eugenio. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, hey Wayne, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Let me
Excited
get
to
that
talk
announcer
about
voice up.
this. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I came super soft in. You were like, I was like, hi. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this controversial in our friendship special.
You sound it. Uh, so this special I didn't even realize was coming out until like a week before it dropped. I think it was. Did you know anything about this beforehand,
No, I
or
have a
was it kind
feeling
of
he
like a
wanted that to
surprise?
be the case because he
Yeah,
was like, "You're gonna watch, motherfucker." Actually, you know what the greatest thing for him must be is that he's already paid for this, and it doesn't matter how many people watch it. So he's
yeah,
probably just like, "Yeah, just tell them a couple days before, they'll get it."
yeah. It's gonna be awesome to have that type of fanfare where you can just do that. But at the same time, I wonder. We talk about like we talked about with Dobie, with like Robin Williams and Seinfeld and Steve Martin. Like, at what point do you go? Is it because I'm me or because it's funny?
This special, for sure, to me, is more than any of other of his specials. Kind of that moment where you're like, "Man, it just must be hard to write for him."
Yeah,
But every
I,
show, everything he says is funny. He came out and he's like, and literally his first words are like, "All right," and he gets a huge laugh, like a bigger laugh than I've ever gotten in my life. He just said the words
yeah,
"all right."
I got that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you want to do this. If you want to go kind of like beat by beat through this thing, because it did kind of have sections. It was kind of sectioned off,
Yeah,
But
let me Tarantino it a little bit by just saying this. This special to me is a tale of two halves, where there's a whole like he wrote this set, I believe, in chronological order, meaning there's a big joke section in the beginning that are jokes. Then there's a story that kind of caps it off in the end. And there's a joke, what we'll call submersible, in the middle that does the turn. So that's everything we're going to talk about. Maybe we'll start in the beginning, like you said.
yeah, I had high hopes for it. There's one thing that I've really appreciated about Dave Chappelle as I have watched a lot of his specials and things that he's done. I listened to that little podcast thing that he puts out. The name's escaping me right now, but it's very um, inspirational, and they do. It's not really funny. They're just kind of talking about stuff, and he's a great speaker, and I think he's really good at inspiring and getting really profound thoughts across. He's really good at that, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of seeps into the special a little bit. So when the beginning started, and he was telling that story about Jim Carrey, I was like, okay, yeah, all right, I see what this is. Like, it's part of that inspirational thing, and then he hits that punchline at the end, which almost I feel like I should have seen coming. It was almost like the and then I kicked her right in the pussy joke.
Mm.
Like it was just like this big long story, and you knew something was coming, and you should have known what it was, but you didn't see it coming. But I
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
that kind of got me, and I was like, all right, that's it. It got me more than it should have, because I think after three specials, the trans jokes need to stop. Just because how many interesting ways can he take it now? You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
interesting, but clever. I guess clever is what I was trying to say.
Yeah, well, there wasn't that much controversy this time. I think he just did it this time because last time there was so much, and people would want to see his response to it. So this is the thing. His faults that he has. So the fact that in some of the special, we felt like it Steve Martin effect, where he doesn't is not able to write it because of that. I think he's super fucking self aware of it. He says it in the special. He says like, people don't really like this joke. Like three motherfuckers like that's good enough for me. And that that's not the case. That a bunch of people laugh when he does it. But he's so self aware of the type of jokes that he's writing and how hard it is to refine them because of who he is, that he does these things that I don't even know how you call this a comedy special, because there's a 20-minute chunk, the end, the long story. Most of it's not funny. It's just it's just a really interesting story. And yet I found that beautiful about it. So think about Steve Martin, like we said. He had to stop because he couldn't navigate what to do when that happened. This might be, if you look at it from the perspective of, hey, that happened, look what he did about it. I felt a lot better about this special. And first time I didn't feel that way, but I listened to it twice.
I did as well. As I mentioned, that's gonna kind of be my thing going forward. I think when I know we're going to talk about a special in particular, I want to give it at least two tries. Um, yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying there, and it does have to be really hard uh, to be surrounded by a bunch of yes men. You know, so I guess
Think
I kind
about
of feel
us. When
for
we
him.
get a laugh, we shoe shined 50 homeless transvestites, the old kind. That's why you can say it like that. And we like to get the fucking enough money to get a laugh that we get. So I can't even imagine everybody loving everything you say, because I think that's why when you see Seinfeld's first special, it's so fucking good, is because most of it he wrote when he wasn't famous. Because he did his jokes forever. And then after that, it's like, how do you write the jokes when you don't have that ability to have someone go, how about you fucking suck? And then you gotta go, I really gotta work on that.
Yeah, that's. I think we should touch upon that a little later because we had a conversation briefly about how comedy changes for some comics. I think as they become more famous.
Mm.
Um, I think maybe towards the end might be a good time to touch upon that,
True.
or
Yeah, let's check along.
maybe even in certain jokes. One in particular that I'm thinking of might be a good time to bring it up. What did you think of that first joke? The whole Jim Carrey, Andy Kaufman thing, and then going into the trans joke. Did that get you at
Uh,
all?
yeah, I thought it was incredible. I was watching it with my wife, and we both looked at each other and went, he's so fucking good. 'Cause this is what I think. I think that first joke and the whole intro was kind of like an ode to Killing Him Softly. Like it was the same style of jokes that he was doing. They were
Mm-hmm.
old school Dave Chappelle, it felt like. Um, I know that he had the trans bits in there and all that, but the handicap bits afterwards and all that, they were physical, older. That's the old style of Dave. There's the newer specials where he was more introspective through all of them, and he kind of does that more at the end. So he kind of, I don't know, he talks about how the career started there, and then he works his way through 25 years of it. I might be giving him too much credit, but this is how I'm really viewing it, and that's why I think of him as a genius. Is I think that the set starts off with like, here's my young material, and then he takes it all the way to here's who I am now. So that first joke, I love old Dave. So that's what it was, like for me.
I didn't think of it like that, but that is a. I could kind of see that. My problem is as we moved into the handicap jokes, I thought it was some of the laziest joke writing I've ever seen from him. It's the same shit that I used to hear walking down the halls of my high school, and stuff that I hear people make jokes, very similar jokes just in everyday life, not from a comic who's paid millions to do it.
It's true. So I did reverse engineer that joke to when I was watching it to try to figure out because I knew you didn't like it because of the first time that you saw it. So I'm like, let me see why is it there? And I came up with an idea. It's the Madison Cawthorn part. You know, when he's shitting all over that guy. He must have just met him once, and he's like, I'm gonna shit. I probably roasted him in person in a funny way, like not being mean to him, but like as a comic would do. He's like, that's funny. And he wrote a bit about that experience, and then he had to write a bit backwards. And he went, you know what? I can start off with the trans joke and then go, you think that's bad, get into handicap material. And that was just his way of, for us, I think if we were doing a Madison Cawthorn bit or whatever the guy's name is, we would do the bit. We'd be like, all right, I need a small setup to get to the punchline of that. He's writing for an hour, so he's like, I need 10 minutes before I get to that. So it's like a whole setup. So, I don't know. Lazy's a tough thing to say about that because it was funny. It was funny.
So what I mean by lazy is like when he stood up and he did the hand up and you know the gimpy walk.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I've seen 13-year-old boys do that. That's and I'm all for saying whatever people want for funny as long as it's not hateful or whatever, But like that's like what bullies did to kids in my school
Yeah.
to make fun
You're
of
right.
them. You know what I mean? It was just I just found it really lazy.
True.
I think there's so many other clever ways you can describe something like that without it being just that. I don't know. It didn't hit me. I don't know. Obviously, people laughed at it, but I thought it
shat
was.
all over that guy in the wheelchair, the senator. It's so funny.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't, because again, I was looking at it through the context of he feels like the beginning of the set was early material. He was trying to make it seem more immature.
yeah.
Because he got serious after. That's why I think the submersible's such a turn, because that was after he got pretty serious after that. So what's after the first joke before we get to submersible? What is some highlights in there?
So one of the big highlights for me, one thing that I absolutely loved, was his Huckleberry Finn
Oh
commentary.
yeah, that was so
That
good.
was such a good, where he was talking about, was it writing the book about from Jim's perspective,
Yeah,
and
he's like,
for our
whoa!
yeah
I said Jim.
yeah for our intents and purposes, we're just gonna call him Jim.
What I liked was more than that, which was I think the joke right before that. This is my favorite joke of the special. Actually, was he wanted to write a tragedy about a girl whose pronouns were the N word, and no, she died of loneliness because no white liberal would talk to her. That was so good because you're like so awkward when someone says your pronouns wrong, and the white liberals really want to do that right for you. But what if your pronoun was the N word?
Yeah,
So they would have to say the N word in order to talk. So she died of loneliness. It's like such a good joke.
yeah, that was pretty good. Um, I mean, I don't have a ton. I did take a few notes. I mean, he did more trans jokes after Huckleberry Finn. Um, and I do get what he's trying to. I'm almost wondering if he had a couple specials where he was getting press, and any press is good press, right? Because somebody like Dave Chappelle, you can't cancel him because people are going to go sell out theaters to watch him anyways.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he was just riding that wave and pandering to his audience. But as somebody who was hoping to see something a little more profound from him, I was like, damn, more again? Like, can we, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough with Dave. I just try to get silly. I try when I'm watching in the beginning. Like if he takes me to a serious place, I'm like, take me there. It's fine. But if you want to stay silly the whole time, you can totally do it. But so the Hollywood Bowl story, was that after Submersible or before?
The Hollywood Bowl.
Chris Rock
Remind me
slap.
on that. Oh. That was after Submersible. The
Okay.
Submersible joke.
Yeah. So let's get to Submersible then, because that's the turn when we get to more serious sections to it. So he says, "This is what I really like. I hate this joke. I think you hate it too.
Yes,
And
100%.
he says in it, most people hate it, and only 3 people like it. And that's good enough for him, it's called. And he says he's called a lazy comic. And I'm like, man, that's such a good introspective look at his own joke, because why would you call him a lazy comic? You call someone a lazy comic because they have a great premise, but they put the easiest punchline in that they can, or the first one that comes to mind, or something like that, or one that you're like, that could have been good, but you ruined it with that punchline. And that's exactly what he did in this bit. Because by the time, like when he's opening his eyes as the watery grave guy there for it, it's hilarious up to that point. You're like, wow, this is actually kind of funny. It's like the dead people on the Titanic seeing the people in the submersible. And it's so long, you're waiting for this awesome punchline that the thing's going to say. You're like, what the hell is this thing going to say? And then it just says a stupid, nothing funny. He just does a funny voice thing. And I'm like, yeah. Is it really good to say that this is a bad joke and then do a bad joke and all that? Maybe not. I don't know. We should on
Do you
people
think
for doing that
that's
in open mic circles.
yeah? But going back to the whole not knowing if something's funny because you're famous, do you think that was his test? Do you think that was a test for him, or do you think he really just
Yeah.
liked that joke? 'Cause, I mean, we both know that we've written jokes where like we believe in that, we love that joke, and we do it
No way.
because
No
we
way
love
does
it.
he
And
feel
nobody
that
else.
way about this joke.
Yeah,
He's so fucking clever. He builds subtext into hours specials. He did the last special. He did it about the 3 times he met OJ, and he sprinkled that in through the whole set. Comedian writing wise, hard to not call him a genius in this. And this joke was the stupidest, laziest joke of all time. So I
yeah,
think, yeah, I would lean more towards that he was like, watch, and he did that, and he was saying 3 people are gonna laugh, and he gets a huge pop, and he's like, let me finish. So
Hmm.
yeah, can't not laugh at him. He is. So my brother says this actually. Says there's some people that just ooze funny. Like they doesn't matter what they say, you're just gonna laugh at them. They could be telling you about their taxes, and you're gonna laugh at them because of how they say it. And he's one. He's one of those people.
yeah. He is. He is. I don't know. It was such a disappointing point
I'm
to
adding
me.
sugar to the fucking salt that you're adding on this
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah.
baby.
I know. I'm very down on it, and I hate to be.
Well, I'm
Um,
gonna give you your moment in the sun right now. We're just going through it. Where you will be the devil. I will be the angel because I liked it. You didn't like it, but then at the end, I want you to give a little. This is why I didn't like it, and why I don't like you as a co-host. Like that. You can do that like at the end.
I'm gonna need to get the other list. So thank God, eventually, pretty quickly, actually, that joke ended. Uh, but he started talking about the whole Chris Rock, Will Smith slap and all that, which I thought parts of it I thought were kind of clever. The way he did it, like he was talking about Chris Rock and kind of giving him shit for taking the slap and all that stuff, and then leading into him getting attacked himself. Uh, but was it just me, or did he have a good chunk of time during that whole uh, bit where he told the Chris Rock joke that Chris Rock told on his special, almost word for word?
You know, I was just about to say that. That was my biggest disappointment of the podcast for sure. Podcast of the special for sure is that he did recycle two. He's like Chris Rock said, and again, there's a little bit of a saving grace because it wasn't the final punchline either time he said it. He just said it as a setup to an eventual punchline. Like he's like something about I'm not a victim. Yeah, he says he took the mic. He said the cry, I'm not a victim, and I was like, check the tape.
Yeah.
So that's his punchline is to check the tape. So you know what I'm saying? There's a little bit of a save there, but I feel you. Verbatim saying what Chris Rock said is kind of is definition of lazy.
Hmm. No, this is the bit I was going to say we could talk about, kind of what me and you talked about, where one big thing of comedy is being relatable. And when Dave gets into the part about him being attacked on stage, he starts to become extremely unrelatable when he starts talking about all the people that were in the crowd that started jumping the guy that that tried to attack him. You know, he brought up Jamie. I think it was Jamie Foxx, John
Yeah.
Stewart,
He's wearing a
um,
cowboy hat like he
Puff
knew it
Daddy.
was
Yeah,
going to happen.
yeah. So there was some funny things there, but I'm like, dude, you're just like at this point. I felt like you're just name dropping. I might be, maybe I'm being nitpicky, but I didn't find any of that funny. You know?
You're being nitpicky because it's so funny because the a guy went to go attack Dave Chappelle and Jon Stewart attacked him. And then Jamie Foxx came up to. Could you like think about it? You're that guy, and you're like, "Death to America." Got to go get Chappelle. Blah blah blah. And you go after him, and Jon Stewart comes out, and you're like, "Oh, I finally got out of the way." And then you see Jamie Foxx. You're like, "What the fuck?" And he's wearing a cowboy hat, and you're like, "What?" And like Dave Chappelle says, I've never seen him in one. I've never seen him in one either. That was the only time he ever wore it, and he wore it there to beat the fuck out of that guy. And then the guy almost got away. And then motherfucking Puff Daddy comes out with a Cambodian breast milk across the face and takes that guy out. And I think there was more than that too. And then they stomped him for like 10 minutes. And like, I saw the videos of him getting put into the ambulance, and he was like, "Oh."
Did you see the video of the attack?
Yeah, yeah, they fucking
Yeah.
killed.
I mean, I thought the video of the attack and all that was funnier. When Dave was on stage, he's like, "Damn, they beat the hell out of him." And you just like you can hear a little bit in the background. They're
Yeah,
just
so
right
think
behind the
like
curtain.
it's not a name drop. It's just like think about a situation where celebrities beat the shit out of a person. It's
Yeah,
just never happened before. And
I don't know.
it's just funny.
I just
No one did it for Chris Rock, and they were all celebrities in the room. So it's just like a funny
That's kind of funny. Yeah.
dichotomy.
I didn't laugh pretty much that entire bit, which was actually a pretty long chunk too.
Yeah,
Uh, there
that's the
was
thing. We got
one,
more serious here,
yeah,
technically, on the
there,
turn.
there was there was one joke in there that I thought was very clever when he was talking about the 22 caliber gun. And he's like, "Oh shit, they got a gun," and they come to find out it was a knife. And he did a show the next night, and somebody's like, "Hey, tell us about the attack." And he goes, "All I'm going to say is he had a knife that identified as a gun," which I thought that was a very, very clever line. I liked that, kind of rolling back into the, his trance themes there. But that was like the only thing that got me in that entire bit. I want to preface this. I know I'm sounding really like poo poo on it. I was so excited. My wife and kid went out. I was like, I have time to sit down and intently watch this thing, and I was so pumped. Like I felt like a 13-year-old kid who just got like a brand new video game, and I was like hovering up on the TV watching it. And yeah, even after two watches, like this is all still how I feel. Which, once again, not everything's for everybody. Maybe this just wasn't for me. But
Yeah, you are a little bitch, so that's gonna play factors into your opinions.
I might have laughed more at Gringo Poppy. Just saying.
How dare you? The ghost of comedy past is gonna come to you in your bed, and I almost said the R word. You, I can't say that anymore. Get demonetized. Even though we
I
have
don't think
no
we're monetized.
we
We're not
don't have
monetized.
monety.
So.
We have no monety.
Um, you were right though. That's when we started getting more serious, and I did appreciate this last half of the special, where he goes and gets a cigarette, and he sits down and he starts telling the story about filming his first thing and that whole thing.
Hmm.
I really appreciated that. It was a good
The
listen.
encore, we'll call that.
Yeah, uh, it was a really good listen, but it wasn't comedy. So if I'm rating that as part of his comedy special, it's definitely a couple thumbs down because there was no comedy. I think he had three quote unquote jokes in there,
Yeah.
and none of them really were good.
Well,
But
they
I did
were.
enjoy that section.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing was based around the idea of being a dreamer and projecting your dream, and Little Nas X being the linchpin to that joke at the end.
Hmm.
Which again I think is very clever because you're starting about talking about you filming your first half hour special and rolling that into calling him the gayest dude of all time. Which again is another the weird thing about this is I feel like he imagine Madison Cawthorn, Lil Nas X are like big pillars in a Dave Chappelle comedy hour. They must be like, what the hell is going on? Because he's basically just roasting both of them in a funny way that if they were both in the room, like when they showed the video at the end of Madison Cawthorn being in the stadium and seeing it and laughing, it makes sense. But in the context of an hour special, you're like, why'd you leave that in there? Or why is that your closer? Like it
Yeah.
just feels like you're roasting him. Like if you call him the gayest dude alive, like if he's in the room, that's like when I do that joke about you with the Wayne Brady thing. If
Yeah.
I did that and you weren't there, I don't know if it hit as well.
Oh, yeah, that definitely would have been. I mean,
Didn't hit
as
the
well as
prism.
which time.
Yeah, it doesn't hit any way I do it. Actually, fuck.
Yeah, I I get that. It was kind of weird, but I guess that part where he was talking about the dreamers, like, the kids, like I want to be a firefighter, and then that part was, yeah, that was pretty good, but for
It's
the most part,
listen. This is you don't. This is the great thing about this special. It's so good you don't even fucking know it yet. And you're starting to slowly realize as you think about it how good it is. That's how you know it's good. Actually, I don't know. I don't know. That's a pretentious way to be. Because think about this. I used to be a person, right? Who the shotgun fire is outside my house. I think someone's hunting. I don't know why they'd be hunting at this time of night. Someone's murdering outside my house, it feels, by the noises I'm hearing. Hold on a second. The person or thing. Oh, wow.
hear
So
that.
many gunshots. Did you hear that?
I heard that. Yeah, again,
I wonder if my neighbor's doing some. It sounds like
is
the
he, is
Jurassic.
is your neighbor listening to Nirvana right now?
No, they're pretty spread out. He might be just killing his family. Maybe. Shit, where was I at? I'm sorry, that distracted the shit out of me.
That distracted the shit out of me too. You say that
Um,
you used to be a person, and I think you were going to say who. You're talking about
Further
how
back.
the special was so good that I don't even know that how good it is yet,
Oh,
and it might be
oh,
pretentious because I used to be a person who.
yeah. So I cook. I like to cook, as Wayne knows, because I send him food pictures all the time. And I used to like eat food at like a nice restaurant that I didn't like so much, but I'd think about it like, oh, but he did like sous vide it, and he had that, and then I would convince myself it was good by the end of it. And you realize that like if like pizza's good because it's fucking good the second it touches your fat mouth, like it's just amazing. And sometimes I think about comedy in that way where I don't laugh at it and I think about it, I'm like, wow, that's so clever and introspective in this. Where I'm like, maybe he should have just pizzaed us and gave us just hilarious off. You don't have to think about it too hard. But I'm trying to, that's what I'm saying is your perspective on it. That I could see. You know what I'm saying?
Sort of, yeah.
Like, because you're saying
I,
you didn't laugh during that whole time, so you didn't like it. And I liked it because I thought about it so hard and has all that stuff in there. And I'm like, maybe if you just did something overtly, or had more
that,
laughs in there.
that's not what I'm saying. I enjoyed, good chunks of this for what they were, like that story before the Jim Carrey story before the reveal of the trans joke. I was like, man, this is an interesting story. I really appreciate hearing this story about him meeting one of his idols. And then, the last half of this where he's talking about shooting that and meeting the Russian mobsters and all that. I'm like, an intriguing story. I really enjoyed listening to that. But if I'm watching it as a comedy special, something that I want to sit down and get some laughs from, that's not what I was watching it for. You know what I mean? You would expect to watch a
Yeah.
comedy special for, like we talk about, you know, I not to bring up the term, but like laughs per minute, right? Like when we put our sets together, like somebody's like, "Hey, you're gonna do 5 minutes." You're like, I'd like to have a laugh every 15 seconds, or a chuckle at least every 15 seconds, 20 seconds, however many seconds. What do you think his laughs per hour were?
Well, so
How many
here's
how
the
many
thing.
actual big laughs do you think he got in that hour special?
Well, there were a bunch. There were certainly a bunch. You don't want to sell him short. We laughed about his special 8 times reciting it, and it's sometimes hard to remember 2 jokes from a special. So I think that leans towards it. But I also think you're thinking about this too analytically. Like, yes, we talk about laughs per minute for ourselves, but do we sit down? Maybe you do, but I don't. Do we sit down for a comedy special and go, I would like to have some ha-has? No, I'm just go, this is interesting. A comedy special, whatever. I'm of course expecting to laugh during it, but I'm not like that's not what I'm there for. I'm there because like Louis gonna have an hour and he's gonna talk for an hour, and I know he's gonna make me laugh during it. It'd be weird if he didn't by the end of it. But if he did something extremely interesting during it, I'm not disappointed. I'm like, hey, you got me for an hour. Keep me interested for an hour. And I think Chappelle did that. I think it was incredibly interesting.
Hmm.
But I know it's not as fun. How about this? It's not as funny special. I agree with you.
No, it's
It's
definitely not. What one joke or one thing we forgot to talk about was the so-called jokes about his going through his wife's phone
yeah,
and all that. So that was that kind of iterates my idea of like some of it being very lazy.
yeah.
The racial jokes that are just like middle school. Like, oh, how'd you open up my phone? All I had to do was push my nose. It's like, yeah, that's dude. That a 12-year-old wrote that. You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff that's kind of overshadowing, I think, some of the other things for me. And I think it's
Ye-
because no, what?
Oh, I I stopped you right in your tracks with
Did
a
I
little.
startle you?
I just went. No, the Asian eyes joke was you didn't like it. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. I know it was a
He
grade
was one
school.
step. Yeah, he was one step away from saying I couldn't tell if she was asleep, so I was going to get some floss. It's like, dude, that is like a middle school joke. Get a little bit better. And I think the reason it bothers me is because we work very hard for our 5 minutes on stage to be clever and funny.
Mm-hmm.
And to see somebody like Dave Chappelle come up and just make those racial observations that are middle school, observations was kind of disappointing to me.
Well, fuck you, via Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle.
Oh, yeah. I, obviously, I love Dave Chappelle. I've loved all of his other specials that have come out. You know, I know some people gave him shit on a couple of the newest ones. I thought they were all pretty good. Um, this one just, I don't know, just didn't do it for me.
Well, give me a Mike score then, Wayne, because we just talked about the
So,
rest of it.
so when I first watched it, I was at probably a 4 out of 10 mics. After watching it again, or I listened to it again this afternoon, um, I'm going to bump it up to a 5 just because I did pick up on a couple things that I didn't quite pick up on the first time. Maybe like I didn't catch the wording properly or something.
Mm-hmm.
Little things that I remembered, but maybe I didn't realize how clever it was at that point. Which kind of goes with what you said. Maybe if I watch it a third time, it might go up to a 6. But my final is going to be a 5. 5 out of 10.
I'm a 7.5. Mike's at a 10.
Really?
Yeah, and I want to ponder you a ponder, Christian ponder, about the comedy specials of the last year. I
Yep.
would like you to rank from your least favorite to your favorite: Mark Norman, Tom Segura, Shane Gilly, Dave Chappelle.
Gillis, Norman, Segura, Chappelle.
Chappelle was your least favorite.
Yes.
Then Segura, then Norman, then Gillis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go Gillis for... How about... I know it's not his special we're reviewing here, but let's talk about how that was undeniably the best comedy special of how many years?
God damn right it was. Many years.
And how about the guy who called it, that it was going to be? This guy.
You sure did.
This guy did.
You can't honestly. So stand up comedy is definitely in like a resurgence and all, but you don't really hear about it all that much out in the wild. I have heard more people talk about Shane Gillis where I'm like, I didn't even know you knew what stand up comedy was, and people talking about Shane Gillis with his Trump impressions and all that shit. Just random people like, wow, I didn't even know you like to laugh.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan
It's
of his
insane.
during when he got kicked off SNL, but I do, and I think I said it to you for sure, but I definitely said it to my brother because this is even before I started doing comedy, when he did his first 45-minute special in Austin. I watched that, and he wasn't even well known. I think he went on the Rogan podcast once, so he wasn't like friends with them or anything. And I was like, this will be the biggest stand-up comic in the world at some point if he keeps doing it, because it was just. He's just too good at every facet of it. But yeah, I mean that's a good indication of where he's at versus where Chappelle's at, chops wise. But I'd put Chappelle number 2. How about that?
Really?
I would. Yeah, I just think that it was it elevated, like they couldn't do what he did. I'm not saying he could do what they did now, like Gillis or anything like that. But they couldn't keep it interesting without those laughs in there like he did, I don't think. Like, I think if Shane Gillis went into an introspective story that was 20 minutes long, I don't know if he'd keep us.
Yeah,
And
I can
then
agree with that.
Norman Segura.
Yeah.
Fucking Segura. Let us down this year. I mean, it wasn't bad. Because I gave us 4 great specials to think about there.
Yeah. Where would you put Bert and all that razzle dazzle? That was this year, right? Or last year?
Yeah. Last by like 5 ghost specials in between what we talked about in that one that I would like better than that. They're just like, this is the thing with Bert. He tries to make every section of his special like a brand. Like the baby walrus thing, where he's going to bring it up at every special on podcasts and all that, because he just
Callbacks.
wants that.
Just-
Yeah, but they're like called
Like
multimedia
perpetual
callbacks. Yeah, exactly. He tries to build a brand around the bit. And you're like, shut the fuck up. Like, just do the bit and move on. Like, could you imagine if my California sober bit or whatever, I was like, I was wearing the t-shirt on here and I was talking about my family calls me California sober, or I think it's, and I just try to live it through my whole, go fuck yourself so hard in the face. You goddamn bloated bitch. Yeah, no, but I didn't like Bert's special. I loved him live though.
He was great live.
He was great live. Fuck you if you don't think so. He put on a great show. Cued music to his special. You know how far away we are from thinking about cueing music to our special?
We definitely have a ways to go before thinking about that. We don't even get asked for like credentials or anything, or credits rather, before we go on stage. So
no, we
we have
don't.
a long
But
way to go.
speaking of get asked to do, why don't we end this sucker by plugging a show that we have this coming weekend? Well, 2 shows that we have this coming weekend.
Yep.
So
we each have a separate show.
I know
which
we
is
won't.
Nice.
We'll be there to support each other, but we won't be performing on the same night, which is really fucking nice. I gotta tell you, because it's lonely to perform without your friend there, or vice versa, lonely to go see your friend perform and not. But when it's 2 nights in a row and you get to just go enjoy one night, and then have a good set one night. I think we're both having the best of both worlds here. Exciting. But anyways, we're doing
Yeah,
it
it's gonna be
for
great.
Delusional Comedy Productions, which bless their beautiful hearts for giving us the opportunity to do these shows. Because they were the old fashioned, like, we sent tape in to them and they watched tape, and I think they take the time, and they didn't know us and they gave us a shot. So I think that's really cool, and you
Which
guys
is
should come out and
bizarre
check it
because
out.
I don't. I think they know that we know each other, or they must because you're not really on socials. But I've been. You got your show a while back, and I've been posting it and liking it and throwing it up on social media. But it's so wild that it came from the same company a day apart from each other,
Yeah, that's true.
which is
That
really
is
fucking wild.
that is wild.
But
But yeah, no, we're pumped to we set goals to do different types of shows, and this is one that we're excited about. The one I'm doing is at Stark's Brewery on January 13th, and Casey Crawford is going to headline, which is really cool. Casey Crawford's obviously fucking awesome. We all know. We've shared the stage with him a couple times, but I've never opened for him or seen him do a headline set. So I'm excited to see that. There's also going to be Nick Taco there, who we've done stuff with at the Safe and is hilarious. The Dirty Birds live show, which is a live puppet show with a. It's an attempted murder of crows, they call it, because I think you have to have 3 for it to be a murder of crows. So 2 of them up there doing incredibly funny comedy. And I think they just, and I apologize for not knowing his name, but he just got added to the show. But they just added a host to the show. You get
Randy
it for me?
Williams.
Randy Williams. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool because I thought we were going to do tag teams. So, but it's looking like we got a host for it. So I'm fucking pumped. It's going to be good. It's almost sold out. So if you're thinking about it, do it, you pussy.
That's in. You already said Manchester at
Yep. Stark's Brewery.
Starkbury. Yeah.
Now, how about you? Where are you going to be?
Yeah. So the next day, January 14th, also starting at 7. I'm going to be there with Uzair Malik, Andrew Boyle, Katie Arroyo, and I don't know how to pronounce the last name. Jeff Labby, Labe.
You
So
just said
nice.
his last name in the 3 worst ways he probably hears it. Flab?
Yeah,
Is your
probably.
last-
And I did apologize ahead of time.
You did.
He's
No,
actually
he's
one
not going to
I've
be.
never met. I've never met him, so I apologize. I've never heard the names spoken.
Fucking last name Flab, you dick.
But that's going to be at the Off the Hook Bar and Grill on C Street in Quincy on January 14th. So that'll be fun.
Fantastic. And have we gotten confirmation? Is that ticketed or free?
I believe it's free. I haven't seen any links for tickets. So yeah, I believe it's a free night of comedy.
Nice. Go get some free nights of comedy. And guess what? If it happens to we were wrong and it's not free, fuck you, pay for it. It's not going to be that much money. Stop being a pussy. You're already there. Get in the door and watch it. We got you. We pyramid schemed you. That's how we got you. But you're in now. So enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be headliner based, or is that going to be showcase based? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I believe Andrew Boyle is technically the headliner.
Nice.
I haven't been told that specifically, but based on the flyer, it looks like he's the headliner. So
So you guys can go to New Hampshire and have a good see me, and then the next day you go to Quincy and you can go see Wayne. And really, how could you go wrong? Get a beer up in New Hampshire, get a bite to eat. Don't eat the whole day. Wait 24 hours till Wayne goes up, and then eat at Off the Hook. Eat your fucking dick off.
I don't go to Quincy very often. I did look that place up. It looks phenomenal. I think I'm going to leave a little early, and maybe grab a bite. I don't like to eat before I go on stage too much, but I fucking love seafood, and it was so good.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Wayne's never been to Quincy, so he doesn't know the shit. I can't shit on another city. I'm
You're
so
running out of cities.
down on cities. I'm running out of fucking cities. Quincy's great. Actually, when I started dating my wife, she lived in Quincy,
Oh yeah,
so I
didn't know that.
used to drive there all the time. It's actually a
That's a
bitch
fucking
of a
hike, dude.
drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an hour and 10 from my house.
Yeah, so
That's gonna suck. Monday. Monday's gonna suck ass for work.
oh yeah, but this is the thing. So for open mics and stuff like that, I am very like Quincy would be a tough one to get me to go to and all. And I'm like, oh, the time. But when you got a book show, I'm like, man, I'll drive to New York. Do you need help in New York, Delusional? Put me there. I'll go. I don't care. Book shows are cool. There's still
It's nice too
gunshots
because
outside.
I mean
There's the murder again.
we we drive an hour for 5 minutes on stage. Went down
Yep.
to left Boston for 3 minutes on stage. Uh, so to drive an hour to get 10 minutes in front of a real crowd, I'm fucking pumped. It made my day. I'm pumped.
Well, is well deserved by the hard work that both of us have been trying to get in there. And there will be, if we go farther in this, there will be some day where we're like, it's right. Not a lot of people give you a shot in the beginning, and you can understand why. Because if we ran a promotional company, you'd like to think you'd give a bunch of different people stuff, and then you realize how many friends you have in the industry and how much slots that takes up. You're like, I can
Hmm.
see why, it seems to be the same characters on a lot of the shows. And then you look at places like this, and again, they didn't know us, and they gave us a shot, and that's going to be really cool. So we appreciate it no matter what happens, no matter
Yeah.
how it goes. We hope to do more, and this has to end now because it's not interesting anymore, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So if you have any questions on any of those, hit us up at hatemail@openmicpain.com, and we can get you a link for tickets for Anthony's show or an address for the one I'm going to be on. And yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. Let's suck and fuck later on the quest for laughs. No, they're pretty spread out. He might be just killing his family. Maybe.